Our second video on wisdom is happening right now. When we talk about wisdom, we're talking about that there's a way that things work, okay? It's just one aspect of the word and the idea, the concept of wisdom, just like prayer and love and go on forever. But in our last video, we talked exclusively about wisdom and its application. And then also we talked about understanding and a few other things. We gave an illustration on that. Hopefully it can change your thinking and the route of your life if you'll let it. In this video, we want to talk and expand from wisdom, which again is the way that things work, or understanding or knowing there's a way that things work. Here's a good example and a good verse for you to have. In Proverbs chapter 12, verse number 11, it says, "He that tills his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that follows vain persons is void of understanding." So if you understand, you got to prepare for yourself. You've got to feed yourself. You got to sustain yourself, and you work on that and work towards that, put energy on it, you're going to keep on going, and you're going to be okay. But if you just want to follow the distractions, if you just want to go with the flow, go with the crowd, go with those that don't worry about those sorts of things, go with those that are irresponsible, well, you're going to suffer for it, and you just don't get it. You don't understand life. You don't understand consequence. You don't understand cause and effect. So you're going to suffer. So we look at that and we get, okay, here's basic wisdom, and that's in Proverbs chapter 12, verse number 11, talking about tilling your land, and you're going to be satisfied with bread, and then how you spend your time and who you spend it with and what you're doing, your level of responsibility and such. We want to move on from there, and we want to talk about some things in Ecclesiastes. Okay, these are the friends of wisdom and the benefits of wisdom and some things you're going to learn, and really this is life-changing, okay? So we were in Proverbs 4:7 in the first video that said wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and we're expanding from that. We're in Ecclesiastes chapter 8, and it says in verse number 5, "Whoso keeps the commandments shall feel no evil things." I'm in King James. There's a reason for that, but anyway, shall feel no evil thing means that he's going to avoid trouble. Now, verses 1 through 5, the beginning of 5 in chapter 8 of Ecclesiastes are their own topic. I'm not going to get into right now, but I want to look at the second part of verse number 5 in Ecclesiastes chapter 8. It says, "A wise man's heart discerns both time and judgment, because to every purpose there is time and judgment. Therefore the misery of man is great upon him." I'm going to take it apart for you and give you some illustrations, okay? So, again, a wise man's heart discerns. If you're going to get wisdom, and you want to become wise and be functioning with wisdom, you're going to get the benefit of discernment, okay? So once you understand what wisdom is and what it means, and you can grasp some illustrations of wisdom, you're going to have discernment. You can exercise. You can look at actions and what you're doing, what other people are doing, and look at the end result, and you can really get a lot of discernment from that, okay? Let me give you an example in lunch. Right now, today, at some point, you're going to get hungry and you're going to need to eat a meal. And, probably most of the time you're at your house and you want to cook something out of your own kitchen for whatever reason. So that meal that you prepare is temporary. It's something that you make and produce, but it's got a very limited effect. So you're going to eat it and it's going to be done. All the time and effort, energy you put into that meal is just for a temporary purpose, just so that you can get a meal, so you can get fed to the next meal in 4 to 6 hours, okay? That's a meal. Now you can look at that and you can think, well, I need to make sure that I've got things established so that I can eat again tomorrow, or so that my children can eat, and then we can continue to eat. So I've got to have a system in place. So then you look at that and you can decide, okay, are my actions right now, are they to serve a temporary purpose? And am I going to be able to do this? Have I got systems in place that I can do it again later? From lunch, I want you to think about the illustration of retirement, okay? So you can consider, am I ready for retirement? Have I got my retirement ready? And if you do have your retirement ready, is that the only thing that's happening with your life? So that when you're ready to die, or when you're ready to stop working and actually retire, what's your comfort level going to be? And how well are you going to live, and how are you going to spend the rest of your time before you finally check out? Then I want you to consider this. If you're looking at creating a meal and providing a meal, to have discernment, and you think about, I just need this meal so that I can move on and do something else, but I also need this meal and I need to have it established that I can eat another meal. Okay, there's some things to discern. When I'm eating this meal, am I thinking about, man, I want to produce this again for tomorrow, or I want to be able to do this again later on today because I'm going to need another meal? Have I got that system in place, or do I want to be the guy who has not only a job to buy the food at the market, but maybe I want to be a farmer. Maybe I want to produce this food for myself. I think that would be fulfilling and satisfying and an accomplishment. So I want to think about that. There's some discernment there. Am I going to eat this lunch? Am I thinking about my meal or lunch and what went into it and to make sure I can do it again? And I want to stay there? Or is this just something I need so I can go do my other job, so that I can go do the rest of life? I've heard some people say that they work to live and other people live to work. There's some things to discern and some things to be said about that. And this is all under the umbrella and touching upon wisdom and discernment. So I want to have some discernment. Going back to the topic of retirement, hope you can keep up. We've used lunch or providing a meal for an illustration. Then we move from there to something a little bit more applicable also is retirement. Are you working towards your retirement? Are you ready to retire? And if all you accomplish in life is retirement, have you really accomplished something sufficiently? Is your life and your actions, your intentions don't really matter to a great extent. What you're able to accomplish, is it with the philosophy, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die? At the end of your life, you're going to be able to say, well, I did the best I could. I had a good time. And, maybe I gave something to my children, or I was a blessing to some other people. Is that going to be sufficient for you? And is that where you want it to be? Or do you need to be thinking about legacy? What is it, not just that I'm passing on an inheritance, $5,000 or the house, or a college education? What is the legacy? What is the meaning? What did I instill is actually valuable and important? What did I actually teach my children to do and pass on to them regarding wisdom and how they live, and how they're going to pass it on to their grandchildren, to your grandchildren, their children? Is there going to be a legacy, something that I've instilled that continues and flourishes, not just an inheritance? And then also you've got to regard the fact is that eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Existence stops. Or if I looked at everything and wisdom and the planet around me, the way that my body works, the solar system works, and the environment works, and I think maybe there's a maker and a designer, and at the end of all this, and at the end of this experience, I'm going to stand before him and give an account of myself. Do I believe that? Yes or no? Does it matter if I don't believe it? Is it still a possibility, and what am I going to do if it is? So then from judgment, of course, stems eternity. What's going to happen? What kind of a thought or regard do I want to give to that? So this is beyond just providing a meal, beyond just providing retirement. You want to be thinking about legacy. You want to be thinking about judgment, the appointment that you have with your Maker, and from there, eternity. Those are some things to consider. Let's go back to discernment, okay? And I'm talking fast because you've only got a 5-minute attention span. We got a lot of ground to cover. We might even have to remake this video, but we're going to do the best we can. We want to go back to discernment after considering wisdom. Wisdom is, there's a way that things work, okay? Proverbs 4:7. You need to know it and have it. Well, from wisdom and evaluating things, I'm going to pick up on some discernment and how I spend my time, and to look at my actions, the weight of my actions, okay? Are they going to be something temporary or established? And then also when I consider wisdom, I think about it's linear. When you look at systems and such, things are linear or they're circular. And what I mean by that is, you think about corn. If you want to eat corn in September, or if you want to harvest corn, you have to plant the seed. Okay, so there's a starting point and there's a finishing point. I planted, we maintained, then we harvested. That corn is done. It was linear. There was a start and a finish. Then you have something that's circular or in a cycle, and you think about the trees outside. You think about the fact that we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, as humans and animals and creatures. Well, plants breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. So there's a dependency there, and there's also a cycle. We kind of need each other. You think about the other cycle, of life and fertilizer. We're able to eat the plants to keep on going. We can have corn and green beans or whatever it might be. Well, those plants are going to eat us. We become fertilizer when we die, and we produce fertilizer. So there's another cycle in place. And you think about water. You've got a pond or a lake, then you've got evaporation, and then you've got rain. There's a cycle. So everything that you're doing, is it going to be linear? Is it going to be circular? Is it going to be something temporary? Do you need to establish a system, or is it part of something else that you want to accomplish altogether? Again, that is going to get into discernment and just being able to evaluate things. Is it permanent? Is it temporary? Is it linear? Is it a cycle? Is it part of a bigger system, et cetera, et cetera? What am I doing this for? There's discernment. It's going to be a value to you and how you live. Then we've got another verse that I want to share with you, and it's still right here in Ecclesiastes chapter 8. But look at verse number 6. Verse number 5, the second part of it, okay? A wise man's heart discerns both time and judgment. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse number 5. The second part of verse number 5, a wise man's heart discerns both time and judgment. So we've talked about discernment. We want to talk about timing and judgment. Then it goes on to verse number 6, because to every purpose there is time and judgment. You get that? To every purpose there's time and judgment. And what we're talking about is there's timing. Whatever you want to do, there's timing. If you want to plant corn, that's great. But listen, that's not going to happen in December. You can't plant corn in December and get a harvest. That's not how it works. Timing is everything. Then also there's judgment, which means decision. Okay? Judgment, if you think about from a courthouse and a judge with a black robe, there's a verdict, and it's a decision. Okay? The primary decision, guilty or innocent. The secondary decision is, should there be punishment, and what should that punishment be? Should it be paying a fine, or is it the death penalty? So judgment is decision, making a decision, okay? And that's what every purpose requires. Every purpose, after you make some discernment of what you want to do, then there's going to be the timing and the decision, okay? The decision is, do I really want to do this? Or is it the right time? The decision, the judgment is, maybe I need to just spend my time in research before I make a final decision. And those things are going to come into play. You think about two kids in a playground that are doing the jump rope, okay? And there's one on each end. They got each end of the jump rope. You decide that you want to be a part of that, and you want to jump in there. Timing is everything, all right? You got to make a decision. Do I want to do this? Am I going to do this now? And that's the part that goes along with wisdom. So we have wisdom that we've talked about in another video, touched on in this one. But we have discernment, which is very crucial and very wonderful to be able to look at things and to reason and pick it apart and make some decisions based on that discernment. Then we've got timing and judgment, which you understand timing is everything. Timing is very important. It can make or break so many purposes if we miss the timing. And then there's judgment or decision altogether. Again, if I want to plant corn so I can harvest it in September, there's some things I got to do in January or February. I got to till and break the ground. Do I want to borrow my neighbor's tractor or buy my own? Or is that overkill and I just need a tiller? There's some decision to be made. And then we want to be able to evaluate, again, go back to discernment. Is what I'm doing, is it self-serving? Is it temporary? Is it long-lasting? Am I missing the bigger picture? Am I missing legacy? Am I missing my children and to teach them about preparing for legacy? And then also, where do I put or propose God, judgment, and eternity? Is it there or not? Am I behaving like I really believe there is a God? Am I acting or behaving like there really is a day of my death approaching? Am I seizing the day? Am I really behaving like there's an eternity that's absolute? Or am I going to eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow I die, do the best I can, have a great time, love some people, love my children, leave them a little bit of an inheritance, whatever I can do, and that's it. I'm going to punch out. Those are some things regarding wisdom. Again, we looked at Proverbs 12:11. We looked at Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verses 5 and 6. I hope these are a benefit to you and a blessing, and hope I can see you again. If you enjoyed it, this is good stuff. Like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate the comments. May God bless you. I hope I see you again soon.